Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I am back with my little black book and we are talking all things fashion trends 2026. We are looking ahead and trying to understand what could be the trends of the new year. Now, I will preface and say every trend forecast that you see, the majority of the time people are guessing. I mean, there is some sort of like calculated understanding as to understand the trends, but ultimately it is guesswork. So last year I did a video and some of the trends I talked about in that video came true, some of them didn't. Or they came true in like a different way. So it really just depends. So yeah. But without further ado, let's just dive right in. I'm gonna start off a bit more umbrella and then I'll go a bit more granular in terms of like what other trends kind of come. Because there's obviously macro trends and there's micro trends. A macro trend that we have really been seeing dominate is the quiet luxury. That, however, I think is slowly shifting and will start shifting in 2026. I don't think everyone in 2026 is going to go from minimalism to maximalism. I'm not a maximalism person, but I am starting to wear more and more colors and trying to play around a bit more with my fashion. So that's my personal journey with it, but I don't think it's going to go from 0 to 100 really quickly. I think the cool girls are already wearing really fun maximalism stuff, and I think it's slowly going to start coming back into mainstream trends, and I think it could be a macro trend that starts off a bit slow in 26, especially in the beginning of 26, but I think will just continue to increase. I think the idea of quiet luxury is slowly diminishing. I think that like maximalism is going to be like the main umbrella and the main like macro trend that I'm going to talk about, and I think everything else will kind of trickle on from there. Yeah, so I think maximalism will be a unique way and a unique way of form of expression. So I think especially with the FIFA World Cup coming, obviously it's a great way to express who you are and who you're supporting through a football shirt. But I don't think it'll just be football shirts. I think the way people express themselves will be a lot more clever and thought out. I don't think it's going to be as obvious as I'm wearing blue because I support Chelsea, I think it'll be a bit more covert. I think the maximalism will be a form of expression and to create a unique identity. I think a lot of people are getting the fatigue of everyone looking alike and dressing exactly the same. Even in my own personal experience, I went out the other night and me and two other friends, we both work in fashion, and when I tell you we each had this individual conversation with ourselves of, okay, I'm gonna wear this to be a bit more different and a bit unique. I'm gonna wear this to be a bit more different. Guess what happened? We all rocked up looking the exact same. So I think even when you try not be on trend, you'll still be on trend. So I think people are getting a bit frustrated at that, so they just want to be themselves. They want a unique voice. So I think that will very much come through. I just want to take a moment to talk about the word cool. Like I mentioned previously, I just said like the cool girls are wearing it. I kind of want to just dissect that a little bit because I think the word cool, I think it's not, how do I say this? It's not how you dress, but the way you dress. I'll go out in central London and I'll be like, I love her outfit. And I'll try recreate it. I don't think it'll look as cool because it's not my outfit, if that makes sense. So I think what people used to think cool as was wearing a Balenciaga jacket or wearing Balenciaga sneakers or wearing the Miu Miu glasses, and I think people thought that was cool. But I think in actual fact, the coolness is not necessarily the brand you're wearing or how on trend you are or how ahead of the trend you are. But I think it's the level of confidence and self-worth you carry within yourself through your outfits, which emulate this coolness. So I also saw on social media, it's quite trending right now, it's called like the swag gap between relationships. And so I think it's kind of similar to that in the sense of, yeah, I don't think it's the garments that give you the coolness. I think it's yourself and your self-expression that give you your coolness. And I think it's the way you hold yourself that gives you that coolness. Yeah, I think it's the way you wear your clothes. It's the way you style your clothes. It's wearing a garment in a way that it's not intended to be worn, you know? So like taking a maxi skirt and wearing it as like a dress and putting like a corset over it or something, and just wearing a garment in the way it's not intended to, I think is very cool. And I think that shows a level of confidence to be like, I'm not wearing a skirt as a skirt, I'm wearing a skirt the way I want to wear a skirt. And I think that is how it communicates to the world, and therefore you're seen as this cool girl, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's, you know, my notes, it's like how you tell your story. So I think it's how you express yourself, again with the uniqueness, how you tell your story of who you are, what you believe in. Yeah, I think that will all come under the coolness. And I think what you think is cool, someone else might not think is cool, and I think that's what makes you unique. You know? Embrace your uniqueness. I think that will also, under the coolness, I think will also come grooming, because I think the confidence and the level of self-love comes from within and comes from grooming. So yeah, I don't feel great today because like look at my hair, because I didn't decide, because I was too lazy this morning and I didn't want to put in curl cream, so my hair is a mess. You know, I didn't take that 10 minutes to put like the self-love and the care into my grooming, therefore my outfit didn't look as good overall. I can objectively say that. Yeah, you know, grooming comes into that. It's not just about the outfit you wear, but it's how you show up in the outfit. On grooming, I do think right now it's very trending for messy girl, unkept makeup, bathroom aesthetics. You're seeing less and less clean girl, you're seeing more and more messiness. So I think that will kind of continue to translate. I think with the last season of Euphoria coming out, I think that resurface of Euphoria makeup might return. I think that also kind of plays into the messy makeup and the grungy slept-in makeup, because it kind of gives off that vibe as well. The next trend I want to talk about is the revival of Hollister and American Eagle and Victoria's Secret. Those kind of brands. I think for the last few years we've very much been in the Y2K era and movement. I think we are moving out of the 90s Y2K, and I think we are slowly gonna find ourselves in 2006, which is really funny because I see trends on TikTok and everyone's like, oh my god, we're in 2016, we're back in 2016, all of that with the Snapchat filters and the King Kylie and all of that. But I think within fashion, I think we're somewhere between like 2006 2008. I think we've seen the resurgence, I don't know what the right word is, but we've seen an uptick in trend on the high Ugg boot, and that is very, very much from that time period. I think we're slowly moving into that era, and that era of fashion, but obviously an upgraded, more modern version. So yeah, I think it's a revival of the Hollister, the American Eagle, and like those kind of brands, like the Juicy Couture, and like I just see it coming back, like the Juicy tracksuits and the very 2006 American Eagle Hollister vibe of like short shorts and like a long sleeve top under a knit, or you know, tights over short shorts, but definitely the short shorts. And definitely we saw that within the luxury runways of mini skirts and mini shorts. So I do think that is kind of coming back. So I think obviously it'll be an upgraded version and a more modern version, and I think it was definitely, for me, it was definitely solidified from the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I think the Victoria's Secret fashion show last year was a complete letdown and people weren't happy. I hated it, and I like regretted waking up till like 3 in the morning to watch it. This year, however, completely different, and it felt like Victoria's Secret was actually back. So yeah, that kind of solidified it for me. You know, I think it's American Eagle, where they used to have like boys shirtless outside the store. I think it is. So yeah, I feel like a revival of that era is coming back, and with that, you know, I think of the short shorts, the Ugg boots, the long sleeve tops, the crazy hair, the slept in makeup that I kind of all just spoke about. And when I think of all of that coming together, I think of Snooki. And I don't know why. I think it's because she is so unapologetically herself, and she looks cool doing it. Like, even though she's like drunk getting arrested on a beach or something, she just looks cool, and she just looks like she's having the best time ever. So yeah, I kind of, you know, like maybe it's the return of the Snooki vibe. I don't know what it is, but when I think of maximalism, uniqueness, coolness, grooming, slept in makeup, I just think of Snooki. So yeah, I think she looks really cool, and it's so out there, and it doesn't work, but it works. So I think that kind of ties back into the maximalism that I was talking about, that it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to Snooki. So an outfit that might make sense to me, you might not understand it, and vice versa. So I think it very much is, if I think I look good, I look good, you know? So yeah, I think that's kind of shifting it a little bit. Dress for yourself. That's what I want to say. Water break. The next trend that I want to talk about is tailored jackets. So over the last few years, I've seen more and more tailoring on the runway, but also within high street brands. Obviously the trickle down effect, but once you see it in like the Zaras and the H&Ms, then you know it's mainstream, because something a luxury designer will do, you might only see in the stores like a year or like 3 years later or whatever. So I think over the last few years we have seen a increase in more and more tailoring. I think after Corona it was very relaxed, baggy. You know, we've seen that with the jeans getting skinnier and skinnier. I don't think we're gonna have skinny jeans, but we definitely have skinny jeans, you know? So I think with the skinnier the jeans, the more tailoring there is. You know, there definitely is a correlation there somewhere. But yeah, I definitely think there's more and more tailoring happening on the runways and happening on certain garments. So I definitely, while I don't think it's tailoring across the board necessarily, I think trousers might still remain quite relaxed, but I think more towards blazers and jackets, you know, with even like with the, you know, exaggerated shoulder pads or an exaggerated sleeve but a tailored waistline. So yeah, I think tailored jackets are very much coming back. I think we've seen it now currently in the winter seasons with, I think it's the army jackets. I want to say it's like marching band jackets, but I do think it's a military jacket or an army jacket, or like a pirate jacket, I don't know. But yeah, so I think we've seen that already within this season, and I think it will just continue. So yeah, I think it'll be a lot more tailoring in the jackets and in the upper half of the body. I think that the trousers, all of that, will still be quite baggy unless you're wearing like a shorts or like a mini skirt. I do think wide leg trousers are still very much the go-to. It is quite hard to find work trousers that aren't too wide. So that's from my own market research. I have not been able to find relatively I mean, I have one pair of relatively tight trousers, but they don't have pockets, so I want another pair of semi-tailored trousers, not wide leg trousers. So just based on my own research, I think there's more tailoring in the upper garments than the lower garments. The next trend that I want to talk about is prints. This year we have seen a lot of polka dots. So while I don't think polka dots are gonna necessarily go away, because polka dots are kind of always there, I do think it will transition more from a polka dot into deer print. So I think deer print is gonna be like the new polka dot, because it's very similar. It's just more of a subtle version. It's more chic. It's not as obvious that you're just wearing polka dots. To me, you don't look as cow-like. Yeah, I want to say next year will be the year of deer print. Similar to that, another trend I want to quickly touch on is mix matched prints. That's a tongue tie. Mismatched prints. That's a tongue tie. Mismatched prints. Again, I think the cool girls are wearing them already, and we've seen them in like Copenhagen Fashion Week and a few street styles and stuff. But yeah, I think more and more people will be playing around with mismatched prints. I think prints that just don't go together will end up going together, and it'll be very cool and very fun, and again, a unique way to express yourself. I don't think this is a trend that I'm gonna hop onto, because if you know me, if you've subscribed to my channel, I fucking hate color, and I'm like afraid of prints. I am trying. But yeah, I doubt I'll really hop on that trend, to be honest. Another trend that I quickly want to touch on is sneakers, specifically retro sneakers. Over the past few years, sneakers have really dominated the shoe trends. I think, you know, we've had a few biker boots and a few boots here and there, but mainly and specifically it has been sneakers. Whether it was the Adidas Sambas or the Adidas Gazelles or whatever, sneakers have been here, and I think they'll continue to stay. I think retro sneakers, the revival of like the Gazelles and everything, will definitely still be there. I do think the brand Aloha's is kind of slowly taking over and slowly doing really cool things, because they have just such cool prints and patterns, and you don't know it unless you know it, you know? Like, everyone knows what an Adidas shoe looks like. That's my theory. And I love it. I mean, I love like retro sneakers, and I think it's so fun. And one of my favorite comedy TV shows is That 70s Show, and I was watching it the other night, and one of the characters was wearing Gazelles, and I thought it was like crazy, because obviously, you know, based in the 70s, but they're wearing Gazelles, and we're wearing Gazelles in 2025. So I love it. I love the retro sneakers. I love the dad shoes. I think sneakers are going to be here to stay, while I'm more of a boots girl, like heeled boots girl personally. I don't own a lot of sneakers. I think if I were to get a new pair of sneakers, it'd be a very fun colorway. Maybe like a bright pink shoe or an orange shoe, or yeah. The last trend that I quickly want to touch on is brooches. Now, brooches have often just been considered a grandma accessory and something really old and stuffy. Over the last few weeks, I've seen more, and I've seen more and more people, fashion girlies, influencers, imagery, editorial imagery, whatever it is, I've seen more and more brooches, whether it's on the runway, red carpet, editorials, social media, more and more brooches. And so I think it's really fun. It was actually very interesting. I got a brooch as a gift from Jean Paul Gaultier when I went to their event. So, you know, the fact that Jean Paul Gaultier, a slutty, sexy brand, is giving us brooches, that was the final, like, okay, brooches are coming back. And it's not how you think of just wearing a brooch. It's wearing a brooch to hold your top up. It's wearing a brooch to cinch in your waist. It's wearing brooches in a fun and cool and interesting way. Again, going back to that uniqueness of wearing something the way you want to wear it. So if wearing a brooch makes sense to you and to wear it in your jeans, do it. You know what I mean? So that is all the trends that I have for you today. As usual, I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed it. I personally really enjoy doing the research, so I really hope that you found it interesting, educational, fascinating, or you just thought I was funny to look at and watch. Either or, I hope you liked the video. Comment below if there are any trends that you are thinking of hopping on next year. But as usual, I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye.